Welcome, everyone, to the My Favorite Horror Movie podcast. I'm your host, Christian Ackerman. I hope you're all doing well and can return to some sort of normalcy. We have a great show for you today. First up is our guest co-host, the actor and writer Michael Klug of NotMyMess.com, where he discusses his latest project as an actor, the horror sci-fi film Spaced, which is out on VOD now. And then we get right into our interview with the brothers Lee and Sam Boxleitner, the excellent filmmakers who grew up as monster kids in Hollywood and have found great success with their short films as writers, actors, and directors. You should check out their films because they're crazy, wacky, fun horror comedies. Before that, if you like our podcast, you can subscribe to My Favorite Horror Movie on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, wherever the hell you want to go, you can find us. We're out there. And also check out our trilogy of books at My Favorite Horror Movie Books at myfavoritehorrormovie.com, where we've collected 150 essays by 150 horror legends and luminaries on the horror film that changed their lives. So, why don't we just get right into this? Let's start it up with Michael Klug and the Boxleitner Brothers. All right, so it's time to welcome our co-host for the day. It is Michael Klug, friend of mine. He's a writer and was you used to be a reviewer.
Well, I'm still sort of doing it here and there, but not full time like I was for a while there. So.
Yeah, writer and actor. You've been focusing on that exclusively now to try to get that going. And you used to be an actor back when you were younger, right?
Well, that's what I was trained in. I mean, I still do it here and there if something comes up, but I'm not out pounding the pavement. That's not in the cards.
Yeah. And so, and how many? I know you like to kind of post your screenwriting journey when you're doing a new screenplay.
Yeah.
How many have you written in the past? How many have you written past years?
Just this year, I've completed 2 specs features, and I'm hoping to have 2 more done by the end of the year. So,
okay,
trying to take advantage of the downtime.
Yeah. So how long does it take you to write a screenplay then?
The one I just finished last week, I started in December. So from start to finish, it was about 5 months, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't we all wish it was faster, huh? It just takes so long.
Well, I'm like 5 months. Okay, that's pretty good. But then I look back and you look at all the time that you've wasted.
Yeah.
I could have been working on it. I could have had it done, 2 months ago, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you end up, either, oh, shit, I don't want to deal with this right now, or, I don't want to dive into that horror situation that I'm trying to write.
Yeah.
But, and you're like, oh, okay, well, Tiger King. Let's see what everybody's talking about. Let's watch that instead for the next.
I have not watched it. Have you watched it? I mean, is it?
Yeah, I have. I watched
it worthy of all the hype?
It is. I watched it twice already because I watched I watched it by myself. Well, because my girlfriend and our sleeping patterns were off for a while.
Yeah.
And so I started watching it, and I didn't think she was going to watch it because there's a lot of cat stuff in it, cats in cages and zoo stuff, and she's not into that. So and then she was like, okay, I have to watch it now. So I watched it again with her. It's wacky. It's definitely wacky, and I don't know. It's crazy. It's trashy. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun as hell.
Well,
and it's a true crime. I love true crime.
Well, I mean, we get into certain frames of time of binge watching, and I know that maybe eventually that'll come around, but we're so far behind on. We finally caught up on Westworld season 2. Couple weeks ago. That's another 2 seasons ago already, and now we're finally caught up as far as season 3. But we haven't watched Picard, we haven't watched Mandalorian, we haven't watched anything. So it's like Tiger King, if it ever gets on the list, it's going to be way the hell down. It's like there's too many other things we're behind on.
Yeah. I even more than horror though. I've been focusing on a lot of documentary stuff, especially all the Netflix true crime documentaries. I just eat that shit up.
Really?
I go to sleep every night to forensic. I put on an episode of Forensic Files, and then it just lulls me to bed. It's my happy place.
See, those things, there's certain things that I can't, and I mean, maybe more so now in the current state of affairs, but it's like some of that stuff I can't do it. Like I can't get in there and some, cause it's just too upsetting to me. Sure. I can
Yeah.
watch, zombie gut munchers or whatever, but yeah, if it gets too real, I'm like, yeah, we'll let that slide. We'll just pass by that. Yeah. I can't do it.
Yeah, yeah. There was one where it was about a kid, and I forget what it's called. It's on Netflix now. But it was pretty kind of gut wrenching what happened to this kid and how the parents tortured him, and it was right in L.A. But it ended up being more about the social, I guess the public social services and
Uh-huh.
how they failed this
Failed.
kid. Yeah, and how they fail a lot of people. Damn it, it's not the trials of I think his name is Gabriel something. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of
But
hard
it's
to
on
watch.
Forensic Files.
No, no, no. That's on Netflix. It's a documentary on Netflix. But yeah, I don't know. I don't recommend it as a happy show, but I do recommend it as a just an interesting story
Sure.
overall.
No,
If I could
yeah.
remember the title, it would help. But
Well, a buddy of mine just was telling me there's some documentary. I guess it's on Netflix. I mean, what isn't on Netflix at this point? But it is something about a haunted house and like ghost hunters and all that. I don't, because it all seems a little stagey to me. But he
yeah,
said apparently he had this on in the background while he was working, and something about the Rice House. That's what I remember.
okay.
But he said you need to watch it. He's like, I had to shut it off because
Mm-hmm.
it was so upsetting to him, and I guess it felt legit. It was a haunted house tale, but this
Really?
house is apparently legit haunted, and he said couldn't finish it. It was too
Oh
much.
wow.
I'm like, okay, well now I'm intrigued.
Yeah, you have to let me know what that is, or
I'll
if
find, yeah,
any.
Rice House, something like that. But
Right.
I'll
Okay.
I'll ask him.
Yeah. So yeah, we're definitely talking about a lot of things we can't remember the title of. That's for sure. That helps everyone.
Yay, Rice House. You'll find it.
Yeah, right. Sounds. You've been
Yeah.
so you also started script consulting as well then.
Yeah. I mean, I for years I've been kind of given feedback to folks and friends, and I'm like, this is a lot of in-depth time. It's enjoyable. I like really getting in and digging, and so I said, well, maybe why not ask the starving artists to pay for this service? That makes perfect sense. But
Yeah.
I started in last summer already. So it's been an interesting process. It hasn't really taken off, which is fine because it's and certainly not in this time frame. Everyone's pinching every penny, but it's really fun. I find it really interesting to get into someone else's head and
Hmm.
come up with some ideas that maybe they hadn't thought of, and obviously just offer editing and just notes and all that kind of stuff. But it's fun, and like I said, I figured why not get a couple bucks out of it if I can. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I'm sure it's probably there are some people that can't take notes, and some people that don't want to hear your notes.
yeah,
And it's all relative in the end. And
of course.
I've made enough movies to know that okay, yeah, I read a script and I go, oh, that could really be changed. That should be changed. And
Yeah,
then I see the scene later and I go, oh, okay, you know what? I was kind of wrong there. Or I read on Twitter after the movie premieres and it's go, oh yeah, see, I was right. Everybody's talking shit about that one moment that I told everybody to change. Nobody listened.
listen to me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you could be right and you could be wrong, and it is all relative in the end.
Oh,
Like you
sure.
can,
I mean,
so
that's kind of one of the things I've always said is like take it with a grain of salt. It's not my project. This is just what I see. This is what I think might be a better suggestion for you, but ultimately do what you need to do. It's your piece. So.
yeah. And so, how are you guys keeping yourselves busy in these quarantine times?
Well, my hubby
You and
and
your
I,
husband.
yeah, we we don't have day jobs, so this hasn't been much of a change for us, frankly. I mean, we're getting a little stir crazy, but I kind of feel bad for some of the folks that haven't spent great deals of time together and now they're kind of forced to do so, and
Yeah.
that isn't our problem. I mean, that's how we spend our day every day. We
Yep.
have separate rooms. We go and do our own thing when we need to, but we're pretty lucky in that. So other than
Mhm.
that, I'm trying to just get projects done and as much as I can, and I don't know, like I said, trying to binge watch, trying to get a lot of books read, just keep my mind occupied. So yeah.
And you just had a movie come out called Spaced.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me
Well,
about that.
you know Laura Jean, right?
Yeah, Laura Jean.
So she's the lead. It's my buddy Monty wrote and directed it, and he actually made the movie on about $11,000, and that money was money he won on Plinko on Price is Right. So,
Whoa, that's great.
but it's funny because I've seen it twice, and I think it actually turned out grand. Like I wouldn't, and not that I didn't have belief in Monty and his team, but 11 grand. What are you going to do with that? But I
It's a
think
big idea. That's the
yeah,
main thing.
and
It's a big idea, so it's hard to use that
yeah.
money to put on screen.
And he turned it out. I'm pretty impressed. I think the performances are strong. I'm happy with my performance, but the best thing is that I really looked at it objectively when I first watched the final cut, and I'm like, me aside, sure, I think I did okay, but I really was engaged. I was kind of surprised,
Great.
and it's a good movie, and Lara Jean's great, and it's a good cast, 5-person cast, and then a few supporting characters. But it's basically a one location space horror sci-fi. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Where did you shoot that at Fonco Studios? Or
We
where'd you
did a
shoot?
portion of
Yeah.
it. Yeah. We did some exteriors out at Joshua Tree, and then shot the actual spaceship inside of Funko.
Yeah, if anybody's out there, Fawn Davis is his name. He worked on some of the '90s Star Wars films. He was working on Lucasfilm for a while, and he's a miniature guy. Pretty amazing talent, and I guess he's been on some of those TV shows too. Special effects TV shows, I think.
Yeah. Well,
as a judge
the studio's fantastic because he's got a lot of stuff from previous shoots. He has an entire diorama from Nightmare Before Christmas that I should be shooting, but let me just go look at this for a couple hours. But yeah, it's a great studio. I only met Fawn a couple times, but he's a pretty cool dude. So
yeah, it's a great place. It's like a film collective there, or a lot of he rents out spaces for other filmmakers, and then so you can it's like a one-stop shop. You can get your wardrobe, you can get armor, stunt people there, and camera people, and so yeah, it's really cool.
Well, the spaceship, the Udo spaceship in space, is actually was pre-built. He designed that, and then obviously we had to make adjustments to accommodate our story and everything, but. Yeah, it's great. You just walk in there, fix it up to your necessity, and you're ready to go. You got a spaceship.
yeah. I worked on a movie my friend Anthony produced there about three and a half years ago or something like that. 3 years ago, 2017, and that was the first time I really got to hang out there and check everything out. And we shot in the bar, and even though like the spaceship part, you look down and you're stepping on these grates. Yeah. And you really look at the detail of them, and it's actually the bottom of milk crates. So it's like getting inventive with what you have is always, because most sci-fi stuff, that if it's a low budget thing, or even if it's a big budget thing, they'll just use like a Gatorade bottle and then paint it, because it has a really nice shape to it.
What's the old the thing from, what is it, Empire Strikes Back? Some guy's carrying in Cloud City when everyone's running away from when the Empire Rise. Isn't that the joke that he's carrying like an ice cream maker or something?
Oh, I don't know.
Like he's supposed to be carrying this piece of space equipment as they're trying to evacuate Cloud City, and everyone's like, "It's an ice cream maker." If you look at it, so it's been
Yeah, I didn't know that one. I know Fond said that I think it was in the third of the newer, like the '90s Star Wars movies. That one was the
Sith.
Attack of the Attack of the Sith. Something like Attack of the Jedi. They use like popsicle sticks as the crowd so when that chase scene with Anakin on the speeder. They were using popsicle sticks. I think they even maybe taped people's faces to them, but you wouldn't be able to tell that it's just popsicle sticks. Oh my God! For the entire crowd, or most of the crowd.
That's a way to save some money on your multi-bajillion-dollar budget. Just popsicle sticks.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper than bringing in a human to pay them $300 to sit around for 8 hours.
Well, I never notice that, so you learn something new every day, Christian. That's good.
Yeah. So maybe it's time to bring in
Bring in the
Lee and
boys.
Sam. We'll bring in our guests of honor. It's Lee and Sam Boxleitner.
Hello.
What's up? What's up?
What's up?
So, for all of you who don't know, Lee and Sam are filmmaking brothers. They probably still take baths together. They make a lot of films, a lot of short films. Their channel is the Boxleitner Brothers, Son of Tron on YouTube. They have a ton of content on their YouTube and a ton of you have an amazing amount of views, don't you guys?
We're getting there.
Yeah. I haven't been to your channel in a while. And just because I've seen your shorts like downstairs, I've met you guys over the years through the horror circles and film festivals. So, downstairs and Rupert. I just saw Mr. Tickles, which I hadn't seen yet, and that was fucking wacky. And so both of you guys are actors. Both of you guys write. Do you both direct, or is it just Lee that you both direct as well?
Lee is definitely more the director guy, but every once in a while I'll come up with like a pretty cool idea, and he'll entertain it.
Yeah. But it still comes straight from the bathtub, the Boxleitner
That's where we do all our best writing and like pre-production.
Like
we just fire up the bathtub.
Yeah, bath bomb. I prefer lavender over most.
Oh, you guys don't use Mr. Bubble?
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah,
There's something about Mr. Bubble.
I get a rubber ducky, Sam gets a battleship, and we just,
And we just start pounding out ideas. Drink a nice Merlot.
Yeah, it's either.
I go with milk.
You want to up the views? Record the bathtub. There you'll get the views.
Yeah, it might be a Baby Ruth or a Snicker bar, or who knows what that's floating. It's okay. So the first thing I want to ask you now that I'm looking at your channel is like, how the hell do you get so many views on your badass shorts? Then I mean, first off, they're badass shorts. That doesn't hurt, but that there are a lot of badass shorts out there that don't have 800,000 views, 300,000 views. Like, what is it? What's the trick?
I don't know.
Really?
I think Sam made us famous with Downstairs. It was his performance, I think.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of got us started at least is we had Downstairs up, and it wasn't really doing much. We actually had a smaller one called Daddy that was up. That was the first one. If correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that was the first one that actually kind of started like tracking.
And besides the fetish ones,
the fetish ones, like there's one called Las Dualistas where there's like a belly stabbing fetish out there. So that one got us some views because that
was our first short ever.
Yeah.
And we got put on a dark fetish website, and our views shot up. So maybe that was like lucky. Kickstart.
Yeah.
So is Lee naked in that one?
No, we're not in that one. We actually had our then girlfriends in it. It's a real small one. It's fun. It's fun. It's not a horror. It's gross. It's gruesome, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's a horror.
Bloody.
It's really bloody. Yeah, it's very violent. But Lost Dualistas, and so that was on a fetish website, and that kind of boosted our views. And then we did Daddy, which was is that our first like legitimate kind of like straight up horror thing that we did together? Yeah. I think it is. And that got found by some other website. I can't remember which one. It was a long time ago, but that garnered us. That took us to the next step where we were getting like 100,000 views, and then and by the time we did Downstairs, that was the first time we decided to go to festivals, and we got some laurels for that, and eventually BuzzFeed found us.
Yeah, that's right. BuzzFeed for the short.
Yeah,
and as a bunch of horror shorts, they just.
Yeah, they put us in a compilation, like a Halloween time compilation thing. Like these are like 10 shorts you need to watch during Halloween. But so BuzzFeed kind of put us into that next bracket of several 100,000, and then I think it's been pretty much just kind of word of mouth from there. And I don't know.
It couldn't have had anything to do with my very positive reviews, now could it?
Well, it could have.
Definitely did.
Had some good internet
Sure.
reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael's taking the credit. He's got it.
There was also all those ad companies we paid. There's that too. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
Yeah.
Michael was one of those. We paid for those reviews.
Yeah, Michael was
I'm a legit
reviewer. Next to him in the theater at the
legit
festival
friend.
and just slipped 20s into his lap the entire time.
Yeah, you know, yeah, he doesn't even need a review for that. He's just like, yeah, I'll take a 20. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do this,
Whatever.
guys.
I'll still give you the good review, but you know. Whatever.
I usually just pass beers to reviewers. That's how I met Ernie Trinidad. Is that I was at a film festival and I said, "Hey, oh, you're a reviewer? Hey, what's up, dude? Here's a beer, man." You know, because I always have a bag of beers
smart.
with me.
You do. I do. I
You
remember
always have a bag of beers.
I remember sitting in a theater in Utah, in Provo, Utah, at
Yep.
FilmQuest.
Oh my
And
god.
you kind of like showed up late for something because we'd already been sitting there, and you just like kind of like skirted right by and sat right next to me, just plopped down, pulled a beer out of the bag and handed it to me. and oh, hey, Christian, it's good to see you again, man. All right.
Yep. That's how I roll.
Yeah.
And if they don't sell beer in the theater, I mean, and we're at a film festival, I mean, you might as well.
Did you ever go to the New Orleans Film Festival?
I have never been there.
At least when we were there, the bar was literally right behind the last row of seats.
Wow.
Like Sam and I just sat in the back row.
Just be like,
you just reached your hand back. Yeah.
That was it's not like that anymore, I don't think, because now that was like one random year. That was we actually had Die Sit or Die Rupert that year there, and we
Is
made
that JT's Fest?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's JT's
Seaton.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's oh god, man, it's honestly like one of the best festivals ever. It was so much fun, but it was really random because like the year before he had been in a theater, and then this year I can't remember what it was, but he couldn't get into the theater, so he ended up teaming up with this group called Chewbacca's, and they build floats for Mardi Gras. So they had this big warehouse with all these crazy ass Mardi Gras floats. A lot of them horror themed or just fantasy themed or just fucking flat out weird themed, and it was the coolest setting. And so he just set up his own little theater in this warehouse, set up the bar, and in a weird way, it was a much cooler situation, or a much cooler vibe to be watching horror movies in with a bunch of people. You know, just fold out chairs, and like it was just kind of like a party. It was great.
Yeah.
And that's where it really excels. Like if it's not too stiff, and you just really get to feel the energy of the people.
Yeah, and appreciate the movies weirdly enough a bit more. You know, because I don't know, everyone's watching it in a different kind of circumstance. I don't know.
Everybody's drunk. Everybody's drunk. That helps.
I mean, it's New Orleans.
Yeah. So Michael, you had a question for these guys, I think.
Well, I am going to switch gears. I have
let's do it.
As I showed you a moment ago, I have pre-thought out questions to really dive deep here. So now Christian and I discussed, so one of the things we wanted to maybe talk to you guys about, because I think it's interesting, is growing up in Hollywood. Oh, okay. So I want you guys to name drop, just because to me, little South Dakota boy, this is the coolest thing that you guys are my friends, right? This is just an interesting thing to me. So leading into it, you know, where you guys came from and how much experience you had on set as children. And eventually I want you to go into, where did your love of horror come from? Did it come from a set experience? And kind of where did you guys come from, and how did you decide to go into the family business?
Well, Sam, you came first, so you should go first.
Okay, all right. I did enter the world first. So yeah, I don't know. We spent a lot of time on sets as children. I would go off and my parents divorced when we were pretty young. Lee was really young. He was a year. I was maybe 6 years old, I think.
And we have the same mom.
We both have the same mother. Yeah, and so. I ended up moving in with my mother, but part of the thing that just happened was that my dad he'd be filming movies during the summer, and I would just go with him during the summer. So I would spend the school year with mom, and then that summer I'd go off and have an adventure with my dad on a film set. We did westerns and baseball movies, and just it was weird. I spent like my 13th birthday on Wrigley Field, like playing baseball on Wrigley Field, shooting The Babe, starring John Goodman. It was a really, really cool movie, and just a really amazing experience as a kid. And then a part of that was my dad would always somehow kind of like get the ads to throw me in there, and the producer's like, come on, give him a line. So I was able to get into SAG when I was like 7.
Oh my God!
Wow.
It was on The Gambler 3, which is a television movie with Kenny Rogers, R.E.P. buddy, R.I.P.
Yeah.
I say R.E.P. Rep.
But of course, I'm sorry,
Rep.
Sam. On my screen, you looking up to pay tribute to Kenny Rogers. On my screen, you're looking up to Lee.
Kenny.
Here's the
Yeah.
story.
So just
So I had to like run in. Basically, it was like a mess up that they did. They had shot like the next scene, and Kenny Rogers had a hat on, and then they shot this. They had shot. They had just shot a bar fight scene, and Kenny left without a hat. And so like, we can't make the edit. He left without his hat. So they did this. They fixed this huge like street scene where there's like all these, carriages and, prairie families and stuff like that. And they're just walking down the street and giving, Dad's asking the right questions and Kenny's giving all the right exposition. And then this little boy runs in going, Mr. Hawks, your hat. And that's what I'm in SAG.
God, I love it.
Yeah. But Lee, why don't you tell them how we got into horror, though? Because that was definitely...
I mean, horror's been around. I don't remember life without horror movies, honestly. Our mom, I think it was every Friday night we would do pizza and a movie. And it was usually a horror movie because Sam would be requesting it. And our mom really loved, she's in the business too, so she would love watching these with us. And then during the really gory, nasty bit, she would like stop it and be like, okay, so this is how they did this. This is, and then she would like, show us the art and stuff behind it, and then be like, okay, and boom. And then like the tendons would come out of what's his name's arms and strange ways.
Yeah.
But wait, okay, so was she doing that to shield you?
Yeah, in a way.
Okay.
In a way.
Yeah,
to kind of help
think
protect us, I think.
I think she saw that we were naturally inclined, like we were liking it. So she made sure that we didn't have nightmares from it. That's
Lee's wearing a shirt. Show him the shirt, Lee. It's a really great shirt. I'm very jealous of this shirt. But that's the Slaughtered Lamb. I was 4 years old when I saw that movie. My mother showed me that movie. And I think it's basically because she really wanted to watch it. And I just happened to be there. And so she was like, you know what? Okay, we're gonna teach you about werewolves and how they're not real, but man, are they a lot of fun. And I think it all kind of started there. And then Lee, and then I got to be Lee. Lee was 3 years old, and like all he wanted to watch was Nightmare 2. That was
we had Nightmare 2 on cassette, which is honestly like it's one of the best ones. I'm gonna get a lot of shit for that.
Oh,
but
really?
it's so
Interestingly,
I love that one. I was the story goes with our stepdad. The first time he met me, I was 3 years old in a diaper, much like my character in Rupert.
A little late.
Watching Nightmare 2.
Oh wow.
And I guess I just like pulled my pacifier out and I was like, hello, I'm Lee, nice to meet you. And then I just walked back and just started watching Freddy. He's my favorite.
So Michael is the token gay guy of this conversation.
Yeah.
Not excluding I don't know anybody else's proclivities, but when you were growing up, did you see those Nightmare 2 overtones?
I mean, I didn't really necessarily, because when that was released, I was 11. Okay. So, I think I could certainly, I maybe was more titillated by them than I was intrigued by them. Yeah. Maybe didn't quite understand. But I mean, by that point, I was starting to have some kind of sense of what was going on. But,
I just thought it was the 80s.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is like when I became a teenager and went into like a sex store and saw bondage stuff, I'm like, that's what that was in Nightmare 2? Oh my God. This whole time was bondage in the shower? I thought that was just like Freddy invented that shit. I didn't know.
They have Nightmare 2 costumes at the store.
Coach Schneider, man. Yeah, he even though it's Marshall Bell, that was a pretty good thing to see in the shower with the naked ass. So,
Well, we knew about that with the Police Academy and the Blue Oyster scene when they walk in. And you're like, okay,
right.
Wow, that's some
interesting
stuff.
I didn't understand that either, but I was interested. Yeah.
Oh, you were.
Yeah.
And so, the Boxleitners here. When did you start making films together? Then what and why?
That was
Why would you do this?
the summer between my 6th grade and 7th grade.
Really?
We got well, we've always kind of made family movies, but then like that summer it was like, we're gonna make a movie. It was called Night the Earth Died. It was a 20-minute long zombie movie.
Wait a second. Didn't we make Children of the Corny first?
That was like a family movie. This one
Yeah.
like, had all
But it
of
was
our
a movie.
friends. I guess, yeah. Children of the Corny, I guess, would be.
It had a beginning, a middle, and the end.
Where we would tell adults bad jokes and then they would just die.
And then my entire role, I was like, I don't know, I was 15. My entire role, I'd just run around in the background getting attacked by bees. There was no point to my role.
And so you and your family, and I don't know when you had your different moms in your lives, I think, right? At some certain point, maybe different dads or what, different sets of parents, but so and that was kind of already ingrained in you being on set, but then you guys would go home and make movies as well, like on holiday or whatever.
Oh yeah, we turned our parents' garage into an autopsy room once, with Sam being dissected and stuff. It was lots of fun. We got real dirty.
Yeah, and the parents got really excited in building like the props and stuff like that. It's not something that they've ever really been able to do, but I'm sure they've seen throughout the years. Our stepfather is an actor from England, and he was in some very cool Mike Reeves horror films from the 60s and 70s.
Really? Yeah. Which movies?
He was in Conqueror, Worm, or Witchfinder General. And he was in
Sorcerers.
And the Sorcerers, that was with Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he's in Puppet Master 5. I don't know if you guys seen that one.
Not for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Is this the same dude that was in that scene with Meryl Streep in Death Becomes Her? Is that the guy I'm thinking of? Okay. Elwood and I were just talking about him last night. The guy with anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was kind of our cameraman and special effects guy. For sure, he loved it. And he taught us a lot about shooting and the right angles and what kind of lenses. Well, what kind of lenses?
Yeah, he would teach us all about screen direction and stuff.
But that kind of, like the fundamentals. Yeah, and
well, that kind of leads into what one of my questions was going to be, because obviously he was very supportive. But you've seen all the dynasties in movies. It's like, I don't want you to go into the business, but you guys never experienced that. You guys just were always like, yeah, you want to do it, we're going to help you. Right?
Well, no, none of them ever encouraged it. Ever.
Got it.
They were like, don't do this. So what are you doing? Have your eyes been open at all?
Yeah.
Have you in the last your entire life?
Our stepfather especially would be like, I highly discourage this, but since you love it, I'll help out.
Yeah, but it's also a lot of fun. So, and then our stepmother, Melissa, she was, I think, she was one of the most instrumental, only because, if not because she showed us one of our favorite movies of all time, and that was Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2,
yeah. And she introduced us to that, and so it was over. It was all over after that. Like
I hope this isn't backward. I wrote a little thing.
Yes,
about E2 in the right here.
Excellent segue. No, it's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, I was just about to segue into that, since so on the last episode of or the first episode of My Favorite Horror Movie, the podcast, I did not even get into favorite horror movies like a dumbass. So I think I should probably do this as a regular thing, where we just do a little quick discussion and see what everybody is. So we know Michael is Day of the Dead. We know Lee is Evil Dead 2. We know Sam is Dead Alive / Brain Dead. And I'm Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 Dream Warriors. So I think we all kind of have that, except us three with the Boxleitners we're in the horror comedy realm, where that's the movie that really changed our lives. And Michael has Day of the Dead that really just impacted him, and he's seen that more than any other movie in his life, and it brings tears to your eyes sometimes.
Yeah, but it's funny. You don't find that film funny. It's so light.
When he thinks choke on it, like, that's pretty hilarious.
Well, yeah,
there's some funny stuff in it.
That is as dark humor as you could possibly make. Yeah. A light movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Drama.
Drama. Sometimes you need to have that comedy in there. I think sometimes the comedy can help the scares. Personally.
Oh yeah.
I feel like you can disarm an audience with a laugh and then sucker punch them with a good scare. It can be very effective.
Excellent. Yeah. And what I find in theaters is that when people have an uncomfortable laugh, like I'll be watching something and go, "Holy fuck, that was the most insane thing I've ever seen." And sometimes I'll laugh, and sometimes I'll go, "Oh man, that child just died. That's horrible." But and then there's like just some people will laugh in the middle of like a super dark scare. It's like, God damn it, what the fuck was that? Just came out at us. What the fuck is that?
Totally.
And everybody's laughing. I'm not laughing.
Yeah,
But then I'm the sadist who's also, somebody gets sliced open and the other character's going rah 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 rah, and I'm just fucking chuckling like a motherfucker. I'm the only one in the theater like that, so. There's
a sequence in one of our shorts where at festivals we would get a lot of uncomfortable laughter and giggles.
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That you weren't expecting.
Much away from people who haven't seen it, but it's in Rupert. Yeah.
We were pretty much expecting. I thought it was
hilarious.
I thought people were going to be laughing kind of more out loud, but then it turned out that they were like, it was kind of more like that
uncomfortable.
Kind of weird laughter.
I don't know. We screened at a festival called the Bone Bat Horror Comedy.
Bone Bat, yeah. It's in Seattle or something.
I think so, yeah. And our review from it, the woman who reviewed it was like, I don't know why this was in this festival. It's so not funny. I had to go to the bathroom because I had a panic attack during it and couldn't finish the film. I'm like, whoa.
Thank you.
Best review ever.
Wow. During Rupert.
Yeah.
Rupert? Yeah. Wow.
I don't know if you guys, this is sort of on topic because I've never been a laugher in uncomfortable things. I think I internalize and then I just get kind of upset rather than actually let out a weird, uncomfortable laugh. But I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or because it's the state of the world, but I find in the past couple of years, and this might be one of the reasons I stopped reviewing kind of full time, is like I'm having trouble with horror. Like there are things that are not sitting well with me and not in a fun way.
Right.
And I'm finding myself, you know what, I'm going to have to pull back. And I'm trying to think of a good example, but there have been pieces like this it's not fun because this is just something deeply upsetting to me. So I'm not going to, so I'm trying to be cautious. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a recent trend in horror, and I'm not saying I'm not a fan of it, but it is a trend of like, let's zap all of the fun that we can out of this story.
Yeah. Right.
And literally make you think about the movie for 2 weeks and like question whether or not to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Ari Aster.
Shit. I think he's a genius, but at the same time, you're I didn't watch Midsummer for the longest time because I'm like, I don't know if I can take almost 3 hours of Hereditary. That might drive me over the edge. Then I watched it and I thought it was a masterpiece. I love that movie. But
hated Midsummer. Oh my God.
That's the sign of a brilliant film, man. There's no middle ground with that movie. People either love it or they hate it.
I think I'm a middle ground person on that movie because I thought it would I thought a lot of the scenes were masterwork scenes, but then I was like, after a while I gave it the benefit of the doubt, and then after a while I was like, wait a second. What the fuck is going on? Is this just Wicker Man, dude? Is this fucking Wicker Man? Fuck, god damn it! I just watched the Wicker Man again. Oh,
yeah.
Fuck. It took me fucking 2.5 hours just to watch the Wicker Man again.
Yeah, it's essentially Wicker Man and Hereditary put together.
But dude, Hereditary was the best movie of that year.
These are my thoughts on Hereditary because I did not give it. If it had continued at the rate and the pace that it had begun with, it would have been a perfect score. But I literally checked out at a certain point. I won't spoil it for anyone, but I checked out. I'm like, you've lost me. And the fact that I was this engaged and so extremely I was so extremely upset by this movie that talking about things that this wasn't pleasant.
Okay.
Like when she breaks, I know.
Fun.
And it's but then it reached this certain point and I'm like, okay, I'm done. You failed.
Oh.
And it was it had to do with Gabriel Byrne's character. That's all I'll say. But I was like, and in my head, it's like, my thing is like, I am so engaged so completely that I wasn't thinking about, what I'm doing after the movie. I'm not thinking about paying bills. I was 100% engaged in your movie, and you lost me. That's you, and that's not me.
Right.
So you
Yeah,
did
yeah.
something wrong. No, it pissed me off because I loved that movie.
But
And Tony
everything
Collette should have been nominated for an Oscar, by the way.
I thought
Oh, yeah, of
she was
course.
amazing. That performance was a one in a lifetime type of performance. But I don't know. I feel like there's the whole like dread concept. I mean, Lee and I've been through a lot of pitch meetings in the last couple of years, and that term keeps coming back. It's like
I guess our style is not popular right now.
and yeah, you know what? Honestly, and then you have a movie like The Invisible Man who comes out, and Lee Whannell managed to take a freaking ancient Universal horror movie monster who's not scary, and make a scary fucking movie out of it that's entertaining as fuck. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you guys like it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my god, guys!
Really?
Dude, you can rent it right now. It's worth the money.
$20 for 48 hours.
$20 for 48 hours. You can watch it a couple
I'll
times.
buy the Blu-ray.
It's fucking
there you go. Just buy it.
Yeah,
it's really good.
buy it. Yeah, buy it. But it's so damn good, man. And Lee, I mean, I just have to take my hat off to Lee Whannell. Like, there are 2 stars of this film, and it is Elizabeth Moss. Her performance is absolutely unbelievable. But that's Elizabeth Moss. We should know that.
Yeah.
And
except for us. But go on.
Right. Yeah. I have a lot of problems with that movie in general, but that's another conversation. But yeah, she is absolutely brilliant in this. But then I think the real star is Lee's directing, because
it definitely isn't the bad guy.
It's definitely not the bad guy, because he uses the camera to make you think a bad guy is there, because it's an invisible man.
Because the bad guy's invisible. He can literally shoot the corner of a room and suddenly make you afraid of the corner.
You're afraid of that corner.
Yeah.
It's so
really
brilliant
clever.
what he does, and talk about pacing, man. Like the pacing, it's just moving.
Yeah,
it's constantly
having
moving,
little
and there's
things in the background moving on their own, like just
and
outside of frame.
I would say there's
so
elements
clever.
of that dread feeling, that dread building. There's elements of it, but it's still entertaining, and I don't want to pull my teeth out by the end of the film. Yeah. But I still think I thought about that movie for like at least 3 days afterwards. Like I couldn't stop thinking about it, going like, wait, was he there?
There's part of me that wishes, like, I love the dread and all that stuff, but there's part of me that wishes that there were more movies like Cabin in the Woods that were given a big budget, where it's like, you can also have a lot of fun with the movie. It doesn't have to be this like really melodramatic piece.
Yes, or like taking itself too seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of fit into the era of the Me Too era too, as well, right? Like, I don't know the full story behind it, but I think that's kind of how they marketed it. It was the woman.
Oh, Invisible Man. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, just really being tortured by this guy who was already an asshole and a piece of shit, and somehow he dies, and then he comes back as a ghost. Is that what the story is?
Also, best job ever.
Yeah, don't tell me.
Would be the bad guy in The Invisible Man. Best role to get. What's your next job? Oh, I'm the lead bad guy in the next Blumhouse movie. So,
yeah.
How many days do you shoot? I shoot half a day.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
It might have been just one night that he shot.
Really?
Yeah, might have been.
And it's so little.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's so good though. Yeah, he is so good. Everybody, there's not a weak link in that movie. I don't think.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll put it on the list. I'm just so stuck for time. There's so much going on.
There's so much going on.
Yeah. How are you guys doing? Let's talk about that for a second. How is everyone doing?
Michael, go ahead.
Well, Christian and I were talking earlier. It's like, my hubby and I, this hasn't really changed much for us, because we are stay at home. I sit in front of my computer every day, all day. So that really hasn't changed. I mean, the only thing that's really I think the cabin fever is starting to set in. I'm starting to get a little antsy, and it's starting to hit home a little more. So, it is what it is, and we'll do what we need to do. But I've taken up meditating every day.
Really?
Nice.
That's good.
Something to try and keep the anxiety at bay. So,
yeah. I mean, I had just left my job at the end of January that I was at for 2.5 years, and over that 2.5 years, I produced 17 movies. So and put out the 3 My Favorite Horror Movie books. So it was kind of a whirlwind of insanity for me, and so I was looking forward to just being like, okay, let me just chill for a while. And so all through February, that's what I was doing, was kind of figuring out what I was going to do next. And I got hired to write a feature script. And I'm going to produce it. We're going to do a low budget feature. We were supposed to shoot it in about a month, and so that's not going to happen. But at least I had the time to write that. We wrote that in March, and we're still writing that now. And then, I got back into music. I hadn't been recording any music in a long time, and I know Sam makes music.
He does.
Yeah, so I bought myself a MIDI keyboard, which is right here, and it's nice and it's really pretty.
Oh, I love that. I was looking at that one.
Oh wait,
Where'd you go?
No, you can see it.
You probably can't see it with my
There you go.
background thing. Yeah, there you
I
go.
have the Akai version.
Oh, the Akai, yeah.
Yeah.
So I got and I put out my first track, and then I was like, oh, I want to animate a music video for this track. So I animated a music video in Photoshop, and I had to learn how to do that. And now I'm doing a damn podcast.
Yeah, you are.
I don't know what other, like I said with the Felissa Rose episode, I was like, I'm like a kid with a toy, and then I'm playing with it for like an hour, and then I throw it to the side, I pick up another toy, and it's that I finally have time to do that. So that's what's glorious about it.
Yeah.
But I take empathy I have empathy for people that are really having to be out in the front lines and risk sickness in hospitals and wherever they may be. But I'm okay. I'll just stay right in place, and I'll do my part by staying in place. And so
I mean, I'm an out of work actor, so this is very normal for me. The only thing that's different is that now all of a sudden I have to Zoom people all the time. Like, people have to see me in my unemployed state now, which is getting used to.
I feel like I'm seeing people a lot more lately now.
Yeah, exactly. I see more people now through my screen that I like to. No offense, I love you guys, but I mean, this is great. You guys, I got to talk to my in-laws now. This is God, I love them too. I love them too. No, but weirdly enough, I'm getting more auditions now than I was like 2 or 3 months ago, for sure. Like, I was getting nothing. And now I've just had like 4 auditions in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Just self-taping is so damn easy now. You just self-tape, and I think this is probably going to be the new norm for the industry.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you're not going to have to drive to Santa Monica on a Friday afternoon.
That's how it always is too. Oh yeah, Santa Monica at 4:45. Great, be there. Let's see you then. Okay, great.
10 minutes later. All right, thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah.
And then exactly.
Okay.
That's great. Now it's 5, and I gotta go back to the east side. Okay.
4 hours of travel.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could drive out there now and get there in 10 minutes.
It's great. Yeah.
So,
well, that's the irony of it all. Fucking irony of this situation. Other than that, though, I've been bonding a lot with my daughter, which is great. We're playing video games. She's 5 years old, and I taught her how to operate a PlayStation 4 controller and playing video games, and
now she's teaching you how to play the video game.
And now she's schooling me already. Yeah. It's cool.
That's how it was with my nephews. They were like, "Oh, I have a Wii." This is many years ago. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And they were like, "Yeah, let me show you, motherfucker."
You can't compete with young reflexes. You just can't.
They're so fast.
Yeah.
They haven't had the poison
that
we put in our bodies on a daily basis.
No. Cheers to that. If you can see my glass
down a little bit.
Water
disappearing.
I saw that you have like a Ouija board glass. That's dangerous.
Yeah, I have a Ouija board glass.
Oh yeah, look at that. That is cool as hell.
Like, if you're drinking and some condensation makes the glass slip, you could summon something accidentally.
Oh yeah, it's over. It's better than having Danny crawl on my bed every night, or the twins.
Come play with us, Danny. Oh, they're crawling on the bed saying that.
I just see your blankie.
When someone sees my bed, I want them just to think of a hallway of blood. Dead children.
Oh my God. Dead children. Well, what about you, Lee? How are you handling everything?
I'm all right. I'm like Christian. I was on a show, and we only ended up having to miss 2 days. We were going to wrap right about when the quarantine happened. So I've just been staying inside. I got a new YouTube show that I've created where
plug.
Yeah, I got to do a little plug. It's called Shit Your Shorts, where I recommend 5 shorts so scary you'll shit yours.
Excellent.
And yeah, so I do that once a week, and that keeps me busy. Basically, that and watching, TV and stuff.
We've actually been working on our feature too.
Script, yeah.
Getting ready. Like we were actually, the ball was really, really rolling well with that, and then this whole thing just kind of. But but they did want to rewrite, so it gave us a lot of time to work on, because we had to do it was like major notes, like major tweaking, like not like, I wouldn't say a page 1 rewrite, but like the first half rewrite, type of thing, and then so yeah, we've had time to do that. And hopefully we'll be able to send it to them, and they'll be like, great, by September maybe we'll start shooting something.
Very strange shooting again.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to shoot anything, and I don't know if I want to leave anymore.
No,
you guys
dude,
feel like that?
my anxiety is so through the roof.
Yeah.
Like we went for a walk yesterday, and it was like I gotta psych myself up to walk out this door.
Yeah.
It's insane
you
to
see
me.
people with masks and stuff, and like it is nice that they're wearing masks, but at the same time you're like, why do we all have to wear masks? That's terrifying.
And you're thinking that, and then all of a sudden you walk by someone who's not wearing a mask, and you're like,
Yeah.
why aren't you wearing a mask?
Yeah. The hell's your problem?
What's wrong?
Yeah, we're all masked Nazis.
Oh my
You would
god!
have thought the number 1 fashion trend of 2020 would be masks.
You need to make a mask out
Yeah.
of your sheets, Lee.
I need to make a mask out of my face.
No, out of your sheets, your shining sheets.
And what I sleep under.
Well,
Yeah.
find some fabric and make a mask of that. That would be
That would be pretty cool.
grand.
Would be good.
I'm gonna hold on. I need to go pee. I'm about to explode. So.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Don't go disappearing on us. Oh, he disappeared on us.
He's gone.
Oh, no, he's
Oh,
back.
there-
Wow. Just disappearing and reappearing.
I got it. Hold on one second.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
He's going too. It's
Becoming
just,
a really good.
So
And then
Sam,
there were
Elwood,
two.
and I watched Sunset Boulevard last night.
That's a good horror
And-
movie. Holy shit.
It is. And
Terrible.
Elwood is like, look at William Holden. He's like, he looks like Sam.
oh, Jesus, man.
That's true.
So he's like, no, we kind of discussed it for a couple minutes. Like, yeah, I totally look at him. Like young William Holden looks like you. It's kind of
Wow.
weird. Like we're watching like, oh, just thought I'd pass that your way.
I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm gonna have to watch that movie again, because it's been that's been years since I've seen that movie. Actually, you know what? That's what I'm watching tonight. That's what we're doing tonight. We're gonna watch that movie tonight.
Well, it's Elwood's all-time favorite.
Oh, it's one of the best movies ever made.
Oh, yeah.
So good. It's so
It's a
damn-
legit horror movie too.
for sure.
I don't care what people say.
Well, talk about what we were saying earlier about upsetting. Like I was very emotional at the end. I'm like, this is just not cool. This poor woman. It's like,
Poor woman.
I'm like, oh my god. Well, yeah, she's
I
so
could have sworn that.
damaged.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I feel like she's the antagonist in that.
Well, yes.
Now, I'd say fame and society are the antagonists. In some
Well,
level.
yes.
But
Yes.
what drives her that way?
Yeah,
But it was upsetting because she was a
I'm
victim.
ready for my
you know?
canoe
She,
salvation
she totally
today.
is.
So that was, yeah, we were sitting there watching and I'm like, feeling my chest kind of heave a little. I'm like, oh, this is kind of upsetting.
Do you imagine when that movie came out? It was like when people saw Hostel for the first time. They're like, "I won't watch such trash."
I don't know. I'm curious
No, I
what
don't
the
think-
reaction was.
I think it was pretty well received, but we'll have to look that up. I'm pretty sure it was.
Another
Well, it got
Which
great
movie?
horror movie like that,
nominations.
Sunset Boulevard.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, dude,
Oh,
Christian,
yeah.
Yeah.
know.
Oh, it's
It's-
so good.
amazing. Like
That's
just
one of the.
Another,
as a
another
filmmaker, as a
that
screenwriter.
that
Yeah.
is terrifying. Whatever happened to Baby Jane?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Lord.
That movie's messed up, man.
Hagsploitation, isn't that the term? That's a
They
great
don't
movie.
make
Have you guys
movies
seen
like
Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte? Kind of the follow-up.
Yeah,
No.
Oh,
That's
I
a good
haven't,
one.
no.
decades.
It's Betty Davis and Olivia de Havilland. Crawford was supposed to do it, but she backed out because they hated each other. But that's equally as good to Baby Jane, I think. So it's a good one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think I saw it. I have CRS disease, can't remember shit. So that's my problem sometimes. Especially if it was like 20 years ago and I was
Yeah.
probably making out with a girl or something
Yeah.
in the middle of the movie.
I have started smoking pot way too early in my life disease, and so I similar symptoms.
Yeah, maybe that's it too. I made up a rule, you know, back in the day when I was smoking a lot of weed, you know, never blame the weed.
No, but
Never
yeah,
blame
but
it.
now I can. I blame the weed
Yeah,
now.
now you do.
Yeah, because it's
Now that
ridiculous
you
that I
don't
can't remember.
pot,
Because I don't
you-
smoke pot
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't smoke it
I will
anymore.
never blame the weed.
It deceives me.
Yeah, exactly. See? Yeah. You don't
The
want to
weed-
be responsible for it.
No, yeah. Well, no, I see the weed deceived me. I smoked it a lot, and then all of a sudden it turned on me, and it was like, if you're going to continue to smoke me, I'm going to make your life a living hell. Like your mind is going to collapse. You're going to go totally insane. And yeah, and then and I've tried to like get back into it, and it just the same thing happens. Like I couldn't have this conversation with you guys if I were high.
Well,
There's
no,
way.
my
we should
pot
try that.
my pot exposure is I did quite a bit in college and post college, but I hadn't had anything until I had an edible Christmas Day this last December. I hadn't had any in 20
I'll
years.
do it.
And I'm like, okay, I've got a hugely full stomach, big old meal. And we sat down and we were watching 1917 screener.
Oh.
Cool.
And
Probably not a good
first
movie to
5
be really
minutes,
high.
oh my God, it hit me. And of course, I haven't experienced this in 20 years. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. But I remember watching 1917 and I'm like, I can't focus on what is happening.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
trying desperately to pay attention, you know. But that's my sad.
Yeah, that's hilarious, man.
Those edibles will sting you, man.
They will.
They're dangerous.
No, but it took 2 hours. I'm like, oh, it's not going to do anything, and
Yeah.
then just out
And
of
then it
nowhere.
hits you. That's the same thing happened to me, man. My buddy like tried to get me back in. We used to smoke pot together in music school all the time, and then we like there was a couple years where we didn't hang anymore, and then we started hanging again. And I'd stopped smoking pot because I couldn't do it anymore, but he was still really smoking, and he was like, "Here, maybe you just can't smoke it. Here's a little jar of Potella, which is like Nutella, but
remember
with
this.
pot." Yeah, and he's like, "Just Potella," and it was delicious. And he said, "Just spread a little bit on one cracker, see how that goes." And so I spread a little bit on a cracker. It was delicious. And I waited for like a half hour, nothing. And I was like, quite honestly, I want to keep eating it because it tastes so good. And so I ate a couple more crackers.
Ooh.
Right. And then I noticed like the damn thing was like almost gone. Right. The whole jar was like almost gone. Like, and it was a small little jar, and he'd already had some of it. So I didn't eat the whole jar.
Yeah.
Easily 60% of that jar I ate. And and I just it didn't hit me. And then all of a sudden I'm in bed, ready to go to sleep, and I'm watching like Friends or something, and all of a sudden, boom, and then I passed out, and then I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning because I was so effing high. Like, have you ever woken up because you're so high? That doesn't
Probably you just don't know it. You know, you're like,
Like I woke up and I was in such a fucking panic, anxiety attack. The world was just swirling around me. Like it was just awful. I ended up spending the next 5 hours in a fetal position. You know, my wife wakes up and going like, "What's wrong with you? Just leave me alone. Don't talk. Don't look at me.
Don't look at me. I'm hideous."
yeah, I've had those experiences where I think the worst is when your chest, you think an alien is inside your chest and it's going to be like the thing or something, you know, or alien, it's going to just pop out of your fucking chest and you're like, you know.
Right.
Like probably 20 years ago, I used the vaporizer in the marijuana. It was like probably 99, 2000. The first
so
time
you
I
were using like one of
vaporized
those
something.
like big ones.
Yeah, it was like a big thing you put on top of the desk. You know, I didn't have it. I just went over to some fucking weed dealer's house and he had it there and he fucking put in some weed and you don't even feel the smoke at all coming into your lungs. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
oh, okay, let's see. Oh, and nothing comes out. You're like, oh, I'm good. And then, you know, I fucking go home and I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? And then the next time I saw that guy, it was the same thing with his weed. He passed me a blunt and was like, oh, fucking goddamn it. Why did I do this again with this guy?
I do.
Well, my only experience, my very limited experience, a couple times, or the few times I did in college, all it did was activate my bladder. Like I thought that I had to pee constantly
Yeah.
Unlike I didn't expect, no one told me, oh, you're going to have to piss every 5 seconds, even though I didn't. But it's like, oh my God, I got to pee. And of course, we're out driving around somewhere, and there's, stupid. I don't know.
That's a lot of hallucinogens will do that to your bladder, and I don't know why. It's just a brain thing.
Yeah, brain glitch.
Well, I am going to shift because I had one more important question for the boys on my pre-made cards.
This is a good segue. I like
it.
It
is.
And
Christian's
just going to leave.
He's like, fuck this.
No,
this is a good question. This is a good question. So, since you guys have grown up together and you've grown up artistically, what has been this question for both of you? What has been the major thing that you've seen as far as maturity and artistic growth in the other brother? Like, what have you seen kind of come out of your work together?
I mean, first off, I would say there's not a mature thing about us, so this is a very difficult question.
Well, growth, then. Growth.
Oh, I got a growth, man.
Yeah. That one in the top of my shoulder. Yeah.
I know. I think I feel like I've noticed Sam, like when we first started doing these shorts, I had been to film school, you were in music school, and we kind of like focused on those separate things.
Yeah.
And over time, I think both of us have learned a lot more about every aspect of it. And I've been seeing Sam blossom behind the camera as well as in front of the camera now.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. No, I would definitely say that Lee's command of a set is definitely grown to the lack of a better term, the professional level. I remember there was one time when we were shooting downstairs, and I just couldn't get my head wrapped around this noose, like the way we had written it was a different way.
It's usually not that way around.
Yeah, we wrote it like, I don't know, like when you write something, you have a vision in your head. So we write things together, and so he obviously had this vision in his head, and the way it was written for me, I just saw it differently, and I couldn't get it wrapped around. And we kind of got into a little bit of an argument, and Lee just stormed off to a dark corner of this very dark and creepy basement that we were shooting in, and we weren't supposed to be there. And he just like, it was kind of like, have you ever seen the end of Blair Witch?
Yeah.
When the guy's like in the corner, he's like standing in the corner, and you're just behind him, and there's something menacing happening, but you can't see it because his back is to you, and he just like, and then he came back around, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, you know what, okay, I'm just gonna, you know what, you're obviously about to kill me right now. I'm gonna let you. Now it's just like Lee's just kind of like, no, this is what we're gonna shoot. This is my vision for it, and everybody goes like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's what we want for sure.
Okay.
And like I don't know what demons he summoned in that corner of that dark basement, but ever since he came out of there, it just started blossoming, and
Damn.
I don't know where I'm going with this, but
It was scary.
Hey.
I still go into the corner every once in a while, though.
Time out.
Yeah,
because it has that effect on people.
Yeah.
And so,
I don't know.
do you think both your favorite horror film kind of, because most of your stuff is very influenced by comedy? Is it both of your favorite horror films? You guys kind of grew up with that idea of comedy in horror, and that's what you worshipped. And is that what you're still trying to achieve in most of your stuff? And do you write something super dark and fucked up?
Well, I think, okay, so we got this new script that we're working on right now. It's called, I'll just plug it right now because we're on a podcast right now, and it's about a podcast. It's called 66.6, and it's about this disenfranchised, kind of very jaded podcast host who hosts like a supernatural themed podcast called 66.6, and his whole thing is I want to believe in the afterlife, but I just can't do it. And we don't know what it is, but he's got some tragic stuff in his past that kind of keeps him in this kind of jaded, kind of asshole place. And he ends up getting a call one night on a very special episode where it might or might not be the devil himself who's calling in and puts him through the night from hell. And that's basically where it's going to be. So the reason why I bring this up is because we're kind of like, I don't know, I think we're kind of I was thinking about this earlier. we're kind of like finding this new place in our writing where usually we would go, okay, we have this script. This is definitely going to be kind of a comedy type of thing, right? We've got cheerleaders out in the desert and some maniac's going to kill them. How serious can we take that? Do we want to take that seriously? Probably not, right? So we're gonna make that's going to be funny. And then we have one that's about, you know, we have a script that is about, like, you know, a father being visited by the spirit of his dead infant daughter, and so
not a lot of comedy.
Probably not going to be funny on that one. So we said, you know, we outline it and we know exactly what film we're going to. This one we didn't know. We outlined it to the point where we knew who the characters kind of were, right? Like we knew their name was, you know, Benny, right? Or you know, we knew what their name was, and we knew like what they did as like that what their kind of overall
where they fit into the story, yeah.
But only just a little bit. And so, and the outcome has become this really kind of neat experiment where it at times in the script it's funny, at times it is not funny at all. It's there's drama, there's, you know,
I feel like when Sam and I are writing, there's two major thoughts that we have, and it's either, wouldn't it be funny if this happened?
Yeah.
Or wouldn't it be really fucked up if this happened? And we go with one of those, you know, like,
right.
And I feel like comedy and horror is so similar when it has to do with timing, a lot of it, and it has like, they're very similar emotions, and they don't mix well. So I feel like you have to, if you're going for a laugh, make sure it's funny. If you're going for a scare, make sure it's scary. It's hard to mix them in between. So we kind of, I think when we're writing, we decide like, okay, if we're going to go for the scary, we got to make sure we put funny somewhere else.
Well, that's what I've always liked about your shorts, is that you guys mix it so well. All those 500 bajillion reviews I did over that time, you know, working for Horror Freak News, that was a big thing for me. Getting horror comedies right is really hard. It is really difficult, and people don't understand that.
It's a balancing act.
It is. And you guys, you know, I told you this, I guess the last time I saw one of, I don't remember what the last short, I guess Mr. Tickles, where I, you know, professed my love for your filmmaking. Like, everything you put out makes me happy, you know? And so, but the fact that you guys mix it so well, that's a gift that you should be proud of, because people can't do that. They can't do it. And the 4 years I worked for Horror Freak, I reviewed over 400 films. It's like, I saw plenty of things that did not work in the horror comedy. Yeah. And the fact that they just didn't understand. You don't understand how to do it. So I commend you guys for that, because it's hard to do.
Thank you.
I think you just do. I mean, I don't know if you're going to say it, Sam, but just you take the comedy as seriously as you do the scary bits.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you also have to know like where you're at, and you have to have, like, for lack of a better term, the maturity to separate the two when you need to. Yeah. Like, I think a great example of a horror comedy is like Shaun of the Dead just comes to mind. It's a really good through and through, fantastic horror comedy where when it's funny, it is really funny. But then once you get into that third act and you get into the climax, the jokes aren't really there anymore, because it's not appropriate anymore to have the jokes there. If you really want this thing to sell, like, we actually have to feel like these people are going to die. You know,
but his mom died somewhere in the middle of the second act, or his both of his parents.
I feel like
once that happens, that's when the movie starts taking this serious turn, and then has like this upbeat ending. You know,
but
exactly. Where
but you still have Ed doing all of his nonsense. It never loses its sense of humor. But I agree with you. It finds a proper place for it, and I think that film is frankly perfect. Yeah. You know, I'm a big zombie fan, and the fact that it was emotional, the fact that it was terrifying to me, because there were some really scary shit in there, and then the fact that it was dropped down. I mean, that movie didn't do anything wrong. Like, it's a perfect film to me. Yeah. And like I said, that's not easy to do.
Yep.
That's where I find the hardest part is, like, when we're writing, is going, okay, how do we get the audience emotionally invested? That's the hardest part to me. Right. The jokes and the scares come naturally, I think, to us. Easy. It's like this, okay, how do we make this the best story possible, and really what can we do to get the audience invested in these characters? And that's something that I think we work our hardest on every time we write something. And it doesn't always work.
It doesn't, no. yes.
And when you because you're brothers, do you guys have really major disagreements or?
sometimes,
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Oh
Sometimes,
yeah.
yes. But I would say
Sometimes yeah.
90% of the time, 99% of the time,
Really?
we're on the same page. But there every once in a while we'll kind of like have to like go to another room or something like that,
And just
Go to
just
the
hammer it out.
corner, perhaps.
Yeah, just
they
go to my
to the
dark
corner.
corner.
And when you were growing up, was there a time? Now, what is the age difference between you?
About 5.5
Sam?
years. 5.5
Oh,
years.
really? 5.5 years. So,
I'm the
so
elder.
there must have been a big gap when it came to when you guys truly connected. You guys had probably various stages. So when you're the older, when Lee's a little smaller, then you took care of him. But then when you get a little in high school, you're like, "Fuck, Lee, you're in elementary.
we're
go
not hanging out
away,
anymore."
kid."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of
So-
it was weird. Like I think you nailed it right there on the head. Like when we were younger, I was constantly perverting him with these horror movies because I loved him. My mother loved him, and Lee loved him too. In fact, the only movie I remember Lee actually having like vivid nightmares about where
Traumatized me.
it was Rambo 3 was the movie that he had
Rambo 3.
nightmares from. Yeah, I don't know why.
Scared the shit out of
Yeah, for some reason like he could watch any horror movie, but something about Sylvester Stallone taking shrapnel out the side and burning.
Nobody should be shaped like that. Unnatural.
Well, on that topic though, is there? So we know Lee's is Rambo 3, but is there a non-horror film that like terrifies you? That just it's not a horror film, but man, it just digs under your skin and it's never left. Do you have one of those?
I don't know. I probably do. I'm just kind of blanking right now.
Crying Game was pretty fucked up.
That was a cool movie.
Haven't seen that.
You haven't seen Crying Game? Oh, it's really cool. It's really cool movie. No, what was the one? It's not the Big Sick. That was
Big Short.
Big Short. That's the one. Yeah, the Big Short. That one freaked me out, man.
Hated
And then man, Laundromat too. Laundromat freaked me out too. Those movies kind of freak me out when it comes to like the reality of our situation, when it comes to like the class system that actually exists in this world. Like,
would you consider Fire in the Sky a horror movie?
Oh, that's a good.
Because that's
terrifying.
Literally, like to this day, I'll have nightmares where there's imagery from fire in the sky.
Really?
Well, there's one that I want to recommend you guys if you've never seen it, and it's I've just been talking about it recently. That's why it popped up in my head. But it's a made-for HBO movie from '85 called Fortress. It's not the Christopher Lambert movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie with Rachel Ward, and she's a small-town teacher in the middle of the outback, and she has children from like kindergarten up to high school, and she's like, I think there's 10 of them, and these 4 masked men show up and kidnap them.
Oh.
So it's not a horror; it's more of like a thriller, I guess.
Right,
but
right.
It is one of the most terrifying movies to this day. There are images in there that like that's just not cool. That's just not cool. But it's a great film.
Fortress.
Have you guys seen previews for? Is it called Bite? I haven't seen it. It's not a horror movie, but I think it's on Shudder, maybe. But it's not a horror movie. It says woman and her daughter are trapped in the desert. This is what made me think of it, the outback, and their car breaks down. They have no cell service, and her daughter gets bit by a rattlesnake, and they have like 2 hours to get out of the desert before she's
oh my god
die.
Oh shit.
It looks like nail-bitingly terrifying, but that's not a normal horror movie, Those kind of movies were like 127 hours later, those movies are terrifying to me. Like,
totally.
Just being trapped alive.
Oh, Alive.
Oh my god, that movie.
You know what fucked me up as a kid, actually? Okay, so now it's coming to me. Something that actually did fuck me up as a kid was JFK. And the reason why is because I loved watching people get their heads cut off and werewolves disemboweling people and zombies eating brains and shit like that. But to see a real person get their head blown off, fucked me up bad.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
I just watched the cursed films on Shudder. The Twilight Zone episode actually shows the footage that they recorded that night of the
helicopter.
No.
Too much. It fucked me up the whole day. Going like, I just saw Big Man.
I would never watch that. Why would you watch that?
No,
that's awful.
Well, you're not expecting it to like in expecting it to be like, by the way, here's a replay of the footage.
Oh God.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of videos of people dying, and just as research, as a creepy
Yeah,
researcher.
the delivery could not have been better for that. By the way.
That's my thing.
Hands down the best delivery.
That's the sound bite of this whole thing.
I watch a lot of videos of people.
And no, but I'm saying I do not enjoy any of it. Like, it is
No.
not fucking fun whatsoever. But in doing so, and in watching horror films, it really increases the idea of the fragility of just our skin and our bodies, and that's a big takeaway from horror movies, is that we can think that we're just immortal. We can fucking do anything. We can do some crazy stunt just as a kid or whatever. But once you start to realize the fragile nature of the human body and how delicate it is, and in watching what we watch, that's where you really start to put things in perspective and go, wait a second, let me pull back from whatever crazy thing I was just going to do. Even when you're fucking 5 or when you're 40 years old doing something drunk, and that you're like, okay, hold on a second, let me pull that back.
I
And
saw
that's
a video
why.
where a guy did this once. I probably should stand down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's what I find the most important in all of the real horrible things that I've watched, just videos or just the wonderful horror films that I've watched. It's like, okay, I can just get it out, and I can just love watching how fragile human bodies are.
There's another soundbite for
fun.
you.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun. You know what? Speaking of that, that just reminds me. I showed my wife for the first time. She'd never seen it. She'd never seen Return of the Living Dead Part 1. Showed that to her. It's on Amazon right now.
Yep.
I hadn't seen that. That was one of my favorite as a kid. Like, that was one of my favorite as a kid. Part 1 and 2. I loved.
I love 2. Love 2.
Oh, get the damn screwdriver out of the head. Oh man. Yeah, dude, I forgot how damn good the first one is. It's fun. I mean, like, the second one is definitely more comedy. But the first one is, again, it was one of those. It's one of those
First
movies
one's pure comedy, dude.
Oh, totally is. But it threads the horror and comedy really, really well. Where I feel like the second one, it's definitely more comedy first with a horror backdrop. Whereas this one's
got the Michael Jackson being electrocuted.
Yeah, exactly. What's
Zucker
the president of the United States?
Harry Truman.
I don't even think I've seen the second one. I've seen the third one. Just
the second
once.
one's good, dude.
The second one's great. That's for sure my favorite.
Really? I enjoy the third one too.
Oh, the third one's fun too.
Yeah,
that one happened like way later, right? That's the one with
in
the
the
girl.
90s.
The girl that was on Melrose Place.
Do that one, did he?
What?
Was that a Brian Usna film? The guy who did.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
The third one.
Oh, it might have been Brian Usna, yeah.
Well, the guy that did the second one was the guy that did Shockwaves. Now, there's a movie if you've never seen. For the love of God, check out Shockwaves. If you have not, it is Nazi zombies, and it is the
Nazi
best
zombies.
damn film.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's been a while since I've seen that one.
76. It's Peter Cushing, Brooke Adams, and there's one other name in there. But, dude, it is so, so wonderfully good. It's so, you talk about atmosphere, and, that's a great ass movie.
Yeah, that's going to the top of my list because I've been trying to like go back and watch specifically 70s era horror films. I think there was I'm kind of like in a Suspiria.
Yep.
I just like
you should.
The remake's cool, but the first one, I mean, it's just.
I haven't seen the remake yet. I just don't
didn't
want
either.
to.
Watch it. It's definitely too long. It's definitely too long, and there's like, I mean, it's like a lot of it to me. If I'm going to be uber critical, it's like let's just watch Tilda Swinton be an actress, and
I can watch that.
But she's amazing.
She's a good actress.
She's amazing. But there's like an entire storyline where she plays like another character. Like she plays a couple characters in the film, and she plays another character in the film where I maybe I have to watch it again. I didn't get why it needed to be there. It wasn't there in the original. Anyway, yeah, but man, it's beautifully shot. They definitely took a nod from Dario, going, like, let's make this thing beautiful. But man, you got I'm watching Dario with the Big Red and
Deep Red.
Deep Red. Sorry, not Big Red. Big Red's gone.
Big Red.
Big Red chewing gum. No, Deep Red. And when you have Dario Argento and Goblin together, to me, you can't go wrong.
Can I tell you my Deep Red story?
Yeah, please.
So in high school, my best friend and I rented everything and anything on the video store shelves. So we picked up Deep Red. Mm-hmm. We took it back, and I guess it completely flew over our heads because we got done and like, what the fuck was that? Like, we didn't like it. We hated it. It became a joke for the next 4 years.
Really?
So we were at the video store maybe a few weeks later, and we saw this, I guess in the 80s, I guess what she'd be called goth, but like a total biker chick. And and she had Deep Red. And she was talking to the clerk about it, and she's like, oh, I really like, she was returning it, I guess. She's like, I really like Deep Red. So then for years, my best friend and I are like, we want to put a little label on the Deep Red box that says "Biker Slut Recommends." But no, that's
my new band name. Thank you.
Nothing. I'm like, and I haven't seen it since because it's.
Oh,
okay. I need to.
Well, here's the thing about
his best movie.
It's really. I mean, okay. So here's the thing about Argento, like, and it's obvious. I think if he were here with us, he would completely agree. The dude doesn't care about the story. Certainly doesn't care about the acting. Yeah. He just wants to have a unique place and an excuse to use his camera, right? Like, and he does that, and he does it incredibly well. So when you watch an Argento film, you kind of have to like be willing to sacrifice. Okay, I'm going to see some shitty performances, and I'm going to see a story that's probably got a lot of holes in it, and they just kind of
dubbed.
Yeah,
it's all dubbed in the end.
Yeah, so much of it's dubbed, but even just the construction of the story.
Yeah. Didn't he say in an interview, someone asked him what Suspiria was about, and he was like, what do you mean what's about? It's a nightmare.
Yeah, and it is.
It's an experience. All of his movies are an experience.
Agreed.
They don't need to make sense. Nightmares don't make sense.
Yeah, if you're going to watch a Dario Argento film through the lens of watching like a normal film, you're probably not going to be happy. You're probably going to leave going like, what the fuck was that? But if you just watch it for the experience that it is, it's beautiful. It's
like when I was a little kid and watched anything David Lynch.
Yeah. Right.
I kept expecting Last Action Hero or something like a normal.
Right. Yeah. Like I didn't get Lynch for the longest time. And then it probably took me like my sixth viewing of Mulholland Drive, maybe not sixth, but like maybe second or third viewing of Mulholland Drive, and it all of a sudden hit me, and I was like, oh.
I haven't seen it. Don't say a word.
No, I'm not going to say anything about it, but other than the fact that like a lot of his films, he's making a film that you get to interpret to make your own. Yeah, yep. It's like I this is what this movie is to me, and if you look at it like that, that's genius. It's brilliant.
There are more movies like
like I get
that's studios. That's probably why I like Blue Velvet the best, because it's a little more linear and regular story, and of course that's my automatic Lynch go-to. So, I don't go for esoteric stuff too much.
I remember in high school I was like all hardcore punk rock and shit, and someone showed me Eraserhead.
Yeah, you're still pretty punk rock, buddy.
That was the thing. I was like, wait, David Lynch made this? The guy who did that shitty Mulholland Drive movie? And then it made me start rethinking everything I've seen from David Lynch.
Shit.
Like, I got to see more of this shit.
You guys are fucking young then or something. When I was in college in 1995.
No, I graduated high school in 2004.
Oh my God.
So
wait, I'm the oldest here, right?
Yeah, you probably are. Let's just say that. Yeah, let's just say that.
I graduated high school in 92, folks.
Okay, so 95.
There you go.
Motherfucker.
All right.
I graduated in 99.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. So not too far off.
At least we're all in the 90s, except for that guy down there. Or up
yeah, that guy. But, when I went to college, it was like, okay, I'm gonna get into art films and I'm gonna fucking dig in. And then everyone's into art films. Everybody's just like getting juicy, fucking, and David Lynch was the king back then, and Kubrick. But like Kubrick died when I was in college, but David Lynch was it, man. And fucking, you watch Mulholland Drive or what's the one that was shot in
Inland Empire.
Inland Empire, yeah, Inland Empire. Oh man, I mean those are just they're fucking like. But Mulholland Drive is a little better. Lost Highways is the best of those three probably. But yeah, you go back to The Grandmother and Alphabet. I was watching all of his early short films, and then Eraserhead, and Elephant Man, which was a
Elephant
big
Man.
one for me.
Unbelievable.
I always forget that's him.
That's
right.
But then you watched The Straight Story, which was his Disney movie. Have you? Any of you seen
Never
The
seen
Straight
that.
Story?
I've not seen
No.
Straight
Oh,
Story.
fuck, dude. That's like the most straight, normal David Lynch movie, but it's super calm and fucking peaceful. It's just an old man driving a tractor across country.
That sounds beautiful.
And the
That does
people
sound
he
beautiful.
meets along the way. It
Well,
is
yeah, Farnsworth got an
wonderful,
Oscar nod for that, I
wonderful
think.
Yeah, it's a wonderful movie, and it's been so many years since I've seen it, but I highly recommend watching that one to any of you who have want the gateway drug into David Lynch is maybe see The Straight Story. It's probably on Disney Plus, and I think it is.
Oh my god, I gotta. Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Watch it.
Straight Story. It really is a David Lynch masterpiece that isn't so fucking crazy esoteric out there. But then you go to Netflix and his latest short, whichever it was, with the one with the monkey. Did you guys see that shit?
No.
Holy fuck. Okay, so about
No
fucking
idea.
2 months ago, David Lynch did a 17-minute short with a detective interrogating a monkey.
Well,
the
yes,
monkey-
I
the
remember
monkey is
hearing.
talking
Yeah,
to
now I
him.
remember hearing about this, but I didn't see
Fucker
it.
stole that from
Fucking-
me. You know it.
I was like, I had tears going down my eyes going, oh my God, there's a new David Lynch movie. And I was crying, like fucking laughing. It's so ridiculous and out there. It is Lynch at his finest.
Wow. Okay.
I forget what it's called right now. Check
Gotta
out.
see this.
Detective and a
it is
monkey.
It's him. Yeah, David Lynch. Yeah,
I'd like to see
interrogating a
what
monkey
would
about
happen-
a murder.
Yeah, I'd like to see what would happen if someone put him in charge of like a virtual reality game. Like just build the virtual reality game.
Can you imagine? That would be amazing.
I
Oh
just
my God.
recently, because of the quarantine, I'm like, I should do it. This is the sign. I got a VR headset, and
You played the you have it. I know you have it, but I haven't talked to you about it. But how was the Resident Evil game in VR?
I stopped playing it. I got too scared.
Yeah,
Ah,
that's why I thought it might be too much. That
I
movie.
was-
That game freaked me out just on TV. Like it was.
well, the original game scared the shit out of me.
Oh, this one's crazy. The Biohazard. That's what it's.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's ridiculously freaky. Like it's so atmospheric.
There's one
I can't
part
imagine
where
putting it goggles
tied
on. Like,
to a chair at a dinner table, and it's like the scene in Texas Chainsaw, the first one where
Oh
it's
my
like the
God.
hammer, and it's like this inbred family, but you're there.
Yeah, no
Terrifying.
thanks. No thanks.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like fun to me.
Yeah.
Sounds like Thanksgiving.
That sounds like fun.
I don't know. I'll play it for a little bit, and then I'll watch the David Lynch detective interrogating a monkey.
Yes. Yeah. Wait, so you guys have the 3D headsets? Both of you do? You guys
Oh, I
play
don't.
games?
No,
Just
I don't have that.
Oh, yeah.
I
Okay.
got yeah,
Oh.
pretty intense.
Yeah. What is the game that you're playing?
Oh, Resident Evil Biohazard.
Oh, Biohazard. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's freaky as hell. I only played it on just like normal PlayStation, just on a seeing it on a TV, and that was enough. Just in a dark room with the fucking sound cranked. Whew. Scary as fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, it sounds like sounds like it's time to get
Sounds
the fuck out of here.
Like it's
I'm
ramping
hungry.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need
Well,
food.
it's been great talking to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, it's been great, man. And hopefully we can reconnect. Maybe we'll see each other again. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this whole world.
Maybe.
Let's be
year?
optimistic.
Next year.
Yeah, maybe next year, 2021, we'll be able to see each other. Even though we get to see each other every few months, normally.
True.
Let's just plan 10 months from now. We're gonna throw a party together.
Hell yeah,
Yay.
I
man.
love it.
I'm
Uh,
there.
On those shining sheets.
Yeah, all of you are invited.
We're all coming over just for the
Come
sheets.
play with me, guys.
Yeah.
Play with me.
All right, thanks everyone. We'll talk to you later.
Love you guys. Be careful. Be safe.
Yeah.
Stay healthy.
Thank you all for listening to My Favorite Horror Movie. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, and catch our videos on YouTube. All of those links and ways to pick up our books are at myfavoritehorrormovie.com. My Favorite Horror Movie is a Black Vortex Cinema production. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon, evil ones.